life is about choices.
Yes.
And it was Hiawatha Williams. He is the owner and founder of Williams Chicken, one of the most wise men I've ever met in my life. And I will never forget him sharing this statement with me when he said, quitting is not a word. Mm-hmm. I was so confused, Dr. Smith.
Yes.
I said, okay, this man is crazy. You just said the word, so clearly it's a word. And I was like, that's not really making sense. And he said, quitting is not a word. When you remove a word and it no longer exists, then the action that comes with that word cannot follow.
That's powerful.
And so he said, quitting cannot be an option. Therefore, quitting is not even a word. Like we don't even say it. It can't even exist. We say we don't use the word quit. No, the word does not exist.
Absolutely. Hi, my name is Dr. Marc Smith, and I'm Superintendent of Duncanville ISD, and this is my podcast, Super Intentional. My name is Dr. Marc Smith, and this is my podcast. As you know, we talk about leadership here in our podcast, and leadership matters. It is my belief in leadership that everything rises or falls based on the leader. So for me to have any sustained success, I think you have to be super intentional about leadership. And boy, do I have a super intentional guest today. I am absolutely honored to have Miss Lady Jade here spending time with us today. And there's so much that I'm going to learn about leadership and leadership nuggets and other things that can help me to be a better leader and those that are listening to be a better leader. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I am they don't even know. Behind the scenes, we've been chatting. I am so excited because I'm like, Dr. Smith, I did not know he was here for 6 years. So this is an honor and a privilege and a pleasure to be here and also to get to know you better as well. Thank you.
So now here's the deal. So as superintendent of Duncanville, I am always interested in Duncanville graduates who has come through the system and now are trailblazers in their career. And I learned that Lady Jade is a graduate of Duncanville High School.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Okay, I am a Panther for life. I represent Duncanville through and through. I started in Duncanville ISD when I was in the 6th grade. Before that, I was in Dallas ISD. Okay. And I played basketball. Okay. I was a Pantherette for a little while. But I always represent Duncanville everywhere I go. So I will say this. It is so important to me, and it means so much to me that as a superintendent, you do want to know about the alum, because we have some amazing people that have graduated from Duncanville that are really, really doing some amazing things and still here in the neighborhood, in the area. Oftentimes you have people that experience success and they go off.
Absolutely.
But no, they're still planting seeds right here in our community. And so I just think it's really cool that you want to connect in that way.
Absolutely. So, it is so very important. So students need to see themselves in other people so that they can say, you know what, I can do that.
Sure.
And so it's so important for us to be able to reach out, bring those Duncanville graduates in so that our students can see what's possible.
Yeah.
So you have a large following. And I think about the students at Duncanville and what they aspire to do. You've invested so much in young ladies, in mental health, in the community. And our district has really changed over the 6 years that I've been here, but actually much longer. This change has been happening a long time.
Oh, yeah. It looks way different than when I was going to school.
So for people that look to you and see your success now, they don't know the whole story. They just see the end product now.
No, they don't.
Can you talk about what the journey has been like for you from an experience standpoint?
Yeah, sure. Whenever I speak to kids or teens, the reality is I'm no different than them.
Yeah.
My mom was a school teacher in DISD. My dad worked at the post office,
Awesome.
So I didn't have the doctors and the lawyers and stuff like that in the family.
Yes.
My parents divorced when I was maybe a sophomore year in high school. So many of the things that the students at Duncanville go through, I have dealt with,
Absolutely.
right? And I would never compare myself because I know that people have tougher lives than what I did. But just one thing I just never did, I just never quit.
Yes.
Whenever I do speak to students, that's one message that I always try to portray.
Yes.
Here's the thing in life, life is about choices.
Yes.
And it was Hiawatha Williams. He is the owner and founder of Williams Chicken, one of the most wise men I've ever met in my life. And I will never forget him sharing this statement with me when he said, quitting is not a word. Mm-hmm. I was so confused, Dr. Smith.
Yes.
I said, okay, this man is crazy. You just said the word, so clearly it's a word. And I was like, that's not really making sense. And he said, quitting is not a word. When you remove a word and it no longer exists, then the action that comes with that word cannot follow.
That's powerful.
And so he said, quitting cannot be an option. Therefore, quitting is not even a word. Like we don't even say it. It can't even exist. We say we don't use the word quit. No, the word does not exist.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, of course, I went to Duncanville, graduated, went off to college. I was very confused about what I was going to major in. Like I didn't always have this path of, I never wanted to even be in radio.
Right.
If we're going to be completely honest.
Absolutely.
I thought I was going to do television for a moment. I considered being a teacher because my mom was a teacher. So, I think that we put a lot of pressure on our students to you're supposed to know.
Yes.
And you're not supposed to know.
Absolutely.
I was blessed to have a little bit of guidance along the way, but I'll also say God kind of directed my path and I allowed him to. In high school, I never knew that me working at the dry cleaners here in Duncanville, I'm trying to figure out what it's called now, but it used to be called Cadillac Cleaners. It's right across the street from Reed Junior High.
Okay, I know the area.
So I worked there for about a year and a half, and I was doing 6 days a week working there after school.
Wow.
And it's funny when you look back over life how God was preparing me for my now.
Absolutely.
So I'm working at the cleaners. I'm the hookup girl. Like anybody want extra starch? I'm Adam, Dr. Smith. Oh my gosh. And I didn't realize, but just my customer service at the time was preparing me for people.
Yes. Absolutely.
Because my job is not necessarily what you all see of just entertaining.
Yes.
My job is people.
Absolutely.
So I worked there, graduate, go off to college, very confused about my major, finally decide, this is so embarrassing. I just decided I'm just going to do something real generic, okay? Because I wasn't sure. So I ended up becoming a communications major, and I graduated with my bachelor's in PR.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how to write a press release. If you paid me right now, I would not know how to, But I did accomplish that goal.
Yes.
I worked really hard in school. I pledged while I was in school. And I think that's where at that time, I had a very great balance. Yes, I partied. Yes, I had a great time. But I always had to make sure I made my grades. Well, I was scared of my parents.
Yeah,
too.
that's good. That's awesome. That's awesome. Wow. So you have an incredible journey. And when I think about the no quit, I think about not knowing what it is you want to do. And sometimes, we see that in a negative light, but for students, it's okay to not know what you want to do.
Sure.
You just have to be in a position so that whatever opportunities are out there, you can realize those. And that's what I do. So I learned that you and I have a very similar passion.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And that passion is we're both passionate about preparing young people for college and that next phase in their life.
Absolutely.
So that's a commitment for mine in Duncanville. What would you say to those that are going to be listening to this podcast, our students, about preparing themselves for that next venture? And where does that passion come from?
That's really good. The passion comes from because I wish that I had more help. I had great parents. Looking back, I didn't appreciate it. My parents were trying to lead me and guide me, but I needed someone more relatable.
Yes.
Someone that was doing something that I wanted to do or that seemed cool. You know how it is. When you're young, you don't appreciate your teachers, your parents.
Yes.
And then you look back 20 years later and you're thinking to yourself, like, they were right.
Absolutely.
But I wish that I had like that big sister.
Yes.
I wish that I had somebody that would really, really keep it real with me. I often find that a lot of and rightfully so, right? Some of our administrators, some of our parents, they don't want to tell us the whole story.
Absolutely.
Well, I am an open book.
Yes.
I have made so many mistakes,
Yes.
Dr. Smith.
Yes.
And if I can use what I've gone through to help our younger generation not make those same mistakes, I will. There's another thing is like, sometimes our kids just need somebody to listen.
Absolutely.
Not offer advice.
Absolutely.
Who do they have as a sounding board? A couple of years in a row, I did a mental health study with Children's Hospital. Mm-hmm. And I can remember sitting in this room with a group of 10 teenagers. Mm-hmm. And I'm asking them questions. So when things are going on and you're struggling and you're stressed, who do you talk to? Do you talk to your parents? All of them were like, oh, absolutely not.
Right.
Well, why not?
Yeah.
Oh, because they're going to be trying to tell us what to do and give the solution. They may go up to the school and act crazy. Okay.
Yes.
So as these conversations went on, I started to notice our teens just opening up. Uh-huh. And it was because everybody just listened.
Right.
So by the end, all of these teenagers felt, you could just, if you could feel a weight being lifted. Yes. They felt great. They didn't even know each other. They started exchanging numbers and realizing that they had much more in common than they thought. Because of course, everybody was very reserved when you first came in. Next thing, we had some Duncanville students that were a part of it, you know. And they all express the pain that they deal with. You know, one was a teenage mother that was labeled because she became a teenage mother. Yes. One had the pressure of mom and dad. Absolutely. You know, trying to make these be perfect and make these straight A's. And what I realized in that moment is that our kids need to be listened to and then they need to be encouraged. When they don't believe in themselves, who is telling them that they can do it? And I know that they can because they're just like me. Absolutely. And if I can push through during my hard times and when and that I believe God gave me that purpose. Yes. I believe that God put me on the radio for others. Yes. So that I can be encouraged and not so I can be some local celebrity, not so I can be a diva, but so that they would care enough about what I think and I can plant some positivity and purpose inside of them. Because there really is no limit to what we can do. Yes, yes. And I think that they need to know that without a shadow of a doubt. And I want to be the one that is a part of the team to share that with them.
Well, you know, you never underestimate the power that you have and the power that you have to make a difference in a young person. Like you, I remember elementary school back in the day, they would have these career day type things. These people would come in. I remember this gentleman, his name was, he was a football player, professional football player for the San Francisco 49ers. I'm like 4th, 5th grade. Yeah. So, of course, I'm all into sports. So he comes in and his name was Cedric Hartman. Okay. So he comes in and first of all, I'm just amazed and awed that a professional football player would come to our school. That is cool, yeah. But the power in that is he was very relatable, and I was able to connect with him. And for a moment, I was like, I can do that. I can be that. So you never know what spark there is. And so there's a lot of sparks that you've, lit around this Duncanville area.
And that's that moment. It's sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, that's it.
But that is the moment. I remember being at Byrd Junior High. Yeah. And somebody from the radio station, his name was Throwdown Sam. Throwdown came and pulled up on our 8th grade day in the truck. And it wasn't about what he said. It was just something about that moment I'll never forget. Right. And I remember going up to him and I thought he was such a big deal. And I said hello. And I just remember him saying, hello, keep being great, beautiful. Yes. And I just was like, yes. He said that to me? Like, yes. Absolutely. And so that word, those words of affirmation, we tell students all the time, well, you got to speak life into yourself. No, we got to speak life into them because they're not able to right now. Absolutely. And so you remembered that moment. I remember Throwdown Sam in my 8th grade day. Like all of these little bitty moments. And so that's what I say is like, when I go into these schools and whenever I'm out in public, like no matter what life is bringing me, I understand that I have a calling. And my calling is, it could get heavy. Yes. Don't get into it like it can get heavy. I mean, I've been married, going through a divorce, nobody knew. Yes. But I know that when I walk outside of my door. Absolutely. A smile can make a difference. A hug can make a difference. 30-second conversation can make a difference. It literally can be life-changing. And if every person, you don't have to be on the radio to be that person. You can be a janitor to be that person. We all can make a difference in somebody's life. And so we have to be very intentional about doing it. And that's why I appreciate you. I think it's so cool that you understand that your purpose is bigger than being this macho superintendent, right?
Absolutely. Super intentional. We got to be super intentional. So your statements made me think about our why. You understand your why.
I do.
Not everybody is there yet. And so, I think about, you got to tell me about Project 16.
Okay.
You got to tell me about that, because in my mind, I'm visualizing that is a way to help others understand their why.
Yeah, for sure. So Project 16 is a nonprofit that I founded back in 2015. If I'm being honest, I did it because I was doing things in the schools and I'm like, I can't afford this. This is getting expensive, so I need to organize this and structure this. So we have 3 main pillars at Project 16. Our first one is to teach life skills. Now I have to rewind. When I was in school, we had like a lasers course because I played basketball. And I didn't realize that our coach was teaching us life skills that were not a part of the curriculum. Right? It was just a thing that she did because she felt it was important. Shouts out to Coach Banks. So I'm like, y'all don't learn this stuff in school? And he was like, no. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to pretend like I'm interviewing. We literally do a mock interview on the phone. He calls me the next day and he's like, sister, I'm so excited. Like, I felt so much more confident. They were asking me a lot of the same questions you were asking me. And I felt like I knew what I was doing, And I was like, he ended up getting a job. And I was like, okay, congratulations. Fast forward about 5-6 years after that, I have a godson. He's going for his first job interview. So what I realized is going into these different schools, not just Duncanville, many schools, that it's just not a part of our curriculum from what my experience was. So I was like, I need to help with the life skills. So if I could gather a group of teenagers and teach life skills, that would be helpful. Our kids need to be prepared for life after high school. No offense against the standardized test. This is my personal opinion. We are so focused on this standardized test that you passed the test and you still lost when you're thrown out into the real world. But that's another subject for another time. You know what I mean?
I'm with you on that, though.
We do life skills. And then I also feel as if exposure is extremely important. You brought it up earlier. A few years ago, I put together a career day. It's called I Am What I See. And we cannot be what we do not see. And so we would bring in different careers, some conventional, some non-conventional. But even outside of that, when I was younger, we went on field trips. I don't really know if the schools are doing field trips like that.
Not as much back when we were young.
But I can remember going to the symphony. I can remember going to, see the orchestra, the ballet, different plays. Now, I didn't appreciate it at the time. I was like, this is boring. But now as an adult, when I'm having adult conversations, I can reference those moments. And being exposed to different things and cultures and art, it really helped it to expand my mind. So we teach life skills and then we provide exposure opportunities.
That is awesome.
If we're doing like an etiquette course, then we're going to take the kids to a 5-star restaurant so they can apply it, right? And then we added over COVID the mental health piece that you were talking about.
Absolutely.
Look, if I'm going to therapy, our kids need to go to therapy.
Very much so.
And COVID was very hard, and that was at the time where everything was happening with George Floyd and a lot of just racial tension, and they see it a lot on social media, and we add the social media aspect. And so we decided that we were going to add the mental health piece, and so I found, which was important to me, licensed professional counselors of color.
Wow.
There were 3, and they have an organization called Connect.
Okay.
And that's exactly what they do. So they started off with me doing the counseling services for our kids. So we actually foot the bill. None of it is voluntary. It's expensive. They do charge that $110 an hour. I got it. But I think it's important for us to not only help our students, but to also sow seeds into Black businesses. So we have started our second round, and they've recruited more LPCs. So whatever finances we have in our bank account, literally we use 100% of those at this time for the counseling services for our kids, because each child gets, last time they got 12. We lessened that because we were like, okay, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So now we do, I believe it's 8 per student.
Wow.
And like I say, it's just very important for me for them to see somebody that looks like them.
Absolutely.
While they're doing these sessions. So
we've got to get Duncanville connected.
Yeah. Do you know what we did with Duncanville? This was like 3 years ago.
So how did I miss that?
This is what I'm saying, Dr. Smith. I need you to give it the program.
I hear you. I hear you.
We took about 100 Duncanville students. Look, now that I think about it, did they sneak these kids out of school?
You know what?
We took a field trip to Texas A&M Commerce.
Okay.
Because this was a lot of first generation college students.
Yes.
And we went to the engineering program there.
Wow.
And they learned everything about engineering.
Really?
I didn't even know. I learned a lot too.
Yeah.
Toilet tissue was made through engineering, makeup.
Yeah.
And then they did some projects and like fun little activities.
Yeah.
We ate out there. The kids were just like, oh, this is what it's like to be on a college campus. Like, I have to be here.
Yeah.
So we did that a few years ago.
That is awesome.
Yeah, which was fun.
So I got to tell you now, you can't grow unless you are able to face criticism, right?
Yeah.
So as superintendent, I'm always, it's easy when everybody's clapping and excited and happy about things that you do. Sometimes in leadership, you have to make decisions that people aren't really favorable with. So, from your perspective, for me as a superintendent who's wanting to connect, wanting to reach out, wanting our kids to be able to take advantage of things that you've mentioned today, what kind of things would you say to me to really help me to grow, even if it's something that stings a little bit, because how can I grow if I don't know?
Oh, don't worry, Dr. Smith. I'm going to tell you the truth. No,
that's why I ask you.
To do what you're doing now is to reach out. I don't think that there's any better feeling than to be able to plant back into a place that helped you grow.
Yes.
Like, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Duncanville. Mm-hmm. I think that there was a time, because I worked for a hip hop station,
right,
that there was this notion that if we came, we were going to bring ruckus.
Absolutely.
Which was very hurtful, because I'm like, you have to be realistic about the times that we're in.
Absolutely.
I don't care, Black, white, Hispanic, everybody's into, there's a culture, you know what I mean? The hip hop culture is more than just music.
Absolutely.
And it used to bother me, because I'm like, come on now, don't question my professionalism.
Absolutely,
like,
I get it.
We're bringing fun and positivity is what we're gonna do. So I guess to what you're saying is just reach out.
I got it.
We have insurance agents, real estate agents. We have people that work for Edward Jones. Mm-hmm. Our kids need to see the product of Duncanville so that they can have more pride.
Absolutely.
Sports is amazing, right?
Yes.
That's great. But what about all of these thousands of kids that you have that are not playing sports?
Absolutely.
Like, to me, the connections that I have in this city, there's no way that I should not be at this school once a month, once every other week. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like know the principals and know the teachers and be a part of it, because a lot of us really, really want to be a part of it. There are so many successful Duncanville graduates.
Absolutely.
And that's a testament to who Duncanville is.
Yes.
But once we leave, bring us back.
Got it.
And allow us to plant and sow seeds into the following generation.
Absolutely.
And I think it would ease your job too.
Absolutely.
Right? Because now you have this community.
Yes.
We say it all the time. It takes a village.
It does.
But when you graduate from high school, the village disappears.
Right.
Well, the village is there.
Yeah.
But the village has to know that you want the village to come back and help.
Absolutely.
Right? And you have to welcome us with open arms.
Yes.
And so that's why I just think it's really amazing that you're doing this, because I see how intentional you're being.
Absolutely.
Right? This podcast is not about you. This podcast is about connection.
Absolutely.
And about allowing our community to know our community. And I think that's very important. I appreciate it.
I receive that, and I'm going to be super intentional.
Oh, Lord, now I'm about to be booked up.
Absolutely. Because you have such an awesome story. Duncanville is one of the largest high schools in Texas. Mm-hmm. We've got 4,600 plus students.
Wow.
And there are so many opportunities there. Yes, our focus is to fill their cup.
Sure.
But sometimes it takes others to come in and supplement what we do. And who better than somebody that walked those halls?
Sure.
So we're going to make that happen. I received that, and we're going to make that happen in Duncanville.
So my question for you is,
yes.
Is Miss Judd still there? Because if Miss Judd is still there, I'm coming.
Actually, Miss Judd is still there. And not only is she there, Miss Judd owns the building.
I know she does.
She owns the building.
I think Miss Judd was there at the inception of Duncanville. She is definitely, a Duncanville standard.
Yes.
I think everybody remembers Miss Judd. She has definitely made her mark.
Excited to hear that you referenced her.
I love Miss Judd.
And I'm going to go back and tell her, too.
Yes,
she'll be excited.
I don't know how
that.
she remembers everybody, but she has a way. If she doesn't, she pretends like she does very well.
She does. She does. Now, I got to mention this. Okay. So, we got young ladies at Duncanville High School.
Sure.
Demographics has changed over the last several years.
Sure.
Especially from when you were in high school in Duncanville.
Dr. Smith, don't do me like that.
But that's that wasn't that long ago.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I like that.
So, but that's how fast things change.
Amen.
All right.
With blink of an eye.
Absolutely.
I like that.
So, I remember when I first came to Duncanville and I was addressing the leaders in the district, and I mentioned to them that we are an urban school district. You could just hear the silence because they didn't want to be an urban school district, as if it was a bad thing being an urban school district. But we are an urban school district, and I was telling them that, and it took a minute for them to own that and embrace what that really meant. So, for me, for you, our students here in Duncanville, having an opportunity, especially our young ladies, having an opportunity to be all that they can become.
Sure. And
to deal with the distractions and this image to be perfect and to look a certain way. I would be curious what your thoughts would be for us, our young ladies, leaders, parents that may be watching this, who think they have to be perfect, who think they have to look a certain way in order to receive the affirmation that they need to go be great.
Oh, that honestly is a good one. And the reason why I say that is because you hit the nail on the head when you said even as adults, we struggle with that.
Yes.
In the day and age of social media, oh my goodness, sometimes you just want to throw the whole phone away because there's a lot of pressure. I fall into that pressure sometimes as well. I would say this, and this is not based on a religion.
Right.
This is just based on truth.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, you have to remember who you are and whose you are.
Yes.
You have to remember that you were fearfully and wonderfully made. You have to remember that there are no mistakes when you were put here. And that whether you're tall, thick, dark, short, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, you have a purpose.
Absolutely.
What does it say? Beauty fades. Let me tell you something. You get older, things start wrinkling, your body starts changing.
Yes.
And so it's really what's on the inside.
Right.
It's your heart. It's your passion.
Right.
It's your love for other people. Right. I'm going to say this. I think that a lot of people think that people like me because of the way that I look. But I can look a certain way, whatever that is. I mean, I'm not whatever that thing is,
right,
and be ugly towards people, and be lazy, and be all of these things.
Right.
So ambition is important. I just say, we really, really, truly are focused on the wrong thing, and it's really heartbreaking. It's really sad to me, and so that's why I think it's important for us as adults to be the example.
Right.
That's why it's important that for you to bring us back.
Absolutely. I
right?
hear
because
you.
I don't have to have on the little shorts and things exposed for me to still make a difference, for me to get attention.
Yes.
And so it goes back to that village I spoke on earlier. Yep. We have to show them something different. Every time they're on the phone, what are they seeing? They're seeing the turn up. They're seeing minimal clothing. They're seeing, your hair has to be perfect. You have to be this. You have to be that.
Right.
And let me tell you, it's impossible to keep up
with. Right.
Again, I want to say this. I too have fallen pressure
Absolutely.
to that. And I have to remind myself again who I am and whose I am.
Right.
And that I am still me.
Yes.
God forbid I get into a car accident and something happens to the way that I look. I am still me.
Absolutely.
And that to me is something that, talk about importance.
Right.
Those are the things to me that should be a part of a curriculum.
Yes. I hear you. I receive it.
Is instilling character.
Yes.
Honor, character. I mean, like, that to me.
Yes.
Are the type of children and students that we want graduating from Duncanville and going into the world.
There's a term that I like. It's called command presence. And when you feel the way and when you have the understanding that you have, you can command presence in whatever room you go into, whatever meeting you go into. It's really another sense of self-confidence.
Yeah.
And, you know, the truth be told, as leaders, we all experience times of insecure feelings.
Oh, my goodness.
Not every leader is really willing to admit that, but we all experience those times of being insecure and doubting our own leadership.
Absolutely.
I was even doubting my team putting this together, but I had to take a chance. I had to have faith and believe that this would help me to connect. This would help me to expand the brand of Duncanville ISD. And they were right, but I had to be willing to hear, listen, and receive. And so that's been such a key part of leadership. So the podcast is all about leadership. And you are definitely a leader. In our business, I say this is a people business.
Absolutely.
Can't get things done by yourself.
Absolutely.
Got to have people. If you're leading the band, you look back, nobody's playing behind you, you're not leading. So leadership is about influence. The obvious question is, but not so obvious, how do you as a leader fill your own cup? What does that reflection time look like for you that you recalibrate who you are and what is important to you so that you can lead and do all the things that we talked about today?
I'm going to be honest. I'm still working on that.
Yes.
Because I think that, okay, I'm gonna share this with you.
Yes.
I was having a conversation recently with a stranger in the airport.
Okay.
And everything that you mentioned, the self-doubt, you know, the second guessing yourself, the imposter syndrome. I deal with it too. Because I'm human.
Right.
I have not done very well at self-care.
Yeah.
I've not done very well at refueling myself. And I think that as years go by, your energy starts, the things that used to be so easy for you, you start to notice that they're not as easy anymore. You're like, your energy is being depleted.
Yes.
So to the original story, I am sitting in the airport and I start talking to a complete stranger, and we both have on masks, you know, and somehow we got on, we were talking about TD, Jakes, all these different pastors. And somehow we got on like self-care and self-love.
Right.
And I was telling him, I was like, I just do horribly. Like, I just do not make time. Like, I just don't have time for it right now.
Yes.
And he mentioned to me, and I hate to go biblical, but I have to. Absolutely. There is a scripture that says, love your neighbor as yourself.
Right.
And I was like, okay. And he said, the part we never focus on is as yourself.
Right.
He said, God put that in there intentionally, because otherwise he would have said, love your neighbor.
Right.
He said, but we're taught when we grow up, love your neighbor, love your neighbor,
right.
love your neighbor. And so, to be honest with you, this is a recent conversation. I noticed that has always been my focus. Put other people before me. Love your neighbor, love your neighbor. But it says, as yourself.
Yes.
So unless you take care of yourself, unless you love yourself, you can't even fathom the amount of love and care and concern that you can give to another person.
Right.
If you haven't even loved yourself on the level that God intended for you to love yourself on. And I think that growing up, especially in our community, it seems selfish if you do anything for you.
Absolutely.
You know? But again, there is a fine line between selfishness and refueling.
Yes.
What do they say? They always use the example of when you're flying on an airplane, there's a reason why they tell you to put your mask on first.
Correct.
And you hear that all the time, and you're like, okay. But it is true. Love your neighbor as yourself. So if you are halfway loving you, right, then you're going to halfway love somebody else.
Absolutely.
And, and we're talking about children. We're talking about kids. We're talking about mom, dad, all these different relationships that we have. The people at the supermarket.
Yes.
Right? All of these are relationships. And
Absolutely.
we are to love on all people.
Yes. So
I am still figuring that part out.
Yeah, that's good. That's fair. I've been doing lately to try to help myself in that area. Just the whole mindfulness and meditation and thinking on things that I want to do and basically claiming it before it even gets there. Amen. Self-coaching. So I've really been doing that. And when I take the time to do it, now it's hard to do because like you going 100 miles an hour, got so many things going on. So much of my life is investing in others and doing things for others. So I do have to be super intentional to take some time and just practice my own mindfulness and reminding myself who I am, and not obviously in a boastful way, but just reminding myself that, hey, this didn't happen by accident.
That's true.
You kind of put some hard work in. You've been super intentional about getting where you needed to go. And that's powerful for me. And I know it's powerful for you as well.
I think that oftentimes too, we, I don't know, I'll just put it this way. It's hard.
It is.
It is hard to make that time and be very intentional about it. But I don't want to run out of gas.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I want to be healthy. I want to. So now that I'm realizing that the things, again, that were once easy for me are no longer as easy, I don't want to have to do this sitting in a hospital bed somewhere.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
And again, it's funny because all of these things that we're talking about as adults.
Yes.
Are we teaching our kids this?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that we expect parents to do it all, but kids really spend way more time at school.
Absolutely.
Than they do. No parent is sitting around with a child 8 hours out of the day.
Right.
You go to your room, you go to the kitchen.
Yes.
It's in passing. So we have a great opportunity within the educational system to instill some of these out of the box characteristics in our kid, and it still baffles me. I keep saying this. Y'all don't take my idea either. I keep saying I'm gonna write a curriculum. I'm gonna write a curriculum, and somebody gonna pick it up one day, so that we become prepared. Prepared adults when we graduate from high school, no matter what decisions we make.
There is a market out there for that.
Yeah.
And there is a need for, there's a niche and a space for that, because there are compliance related things that we have to do on the school side.
Standardized tests.
That's one.
Okay.
That was a nice way. You like compliance related.
I love that. But see, I don't work for the school.
Absolutely. So there are compliance related things that we have to do that really can be time consuming.
Very.
But this is where this relationship is so important, because now for me, you've helped me to understand how important it is to be open to fill that space with others who we may not be able to do it at certain times, but it doesn't mean it goes undone. We can reach out to others that have an expertise and a passion in that area to serve our kids in that capacity.
Yeah. Why am I as an adult just now learning how to do breathing exercises to calm my brain down?
Yes.
You get what I'm saying?
I do. I get it.
But I'll tell you this, just to be honest, you do have private schools on the other side of town that are doing these things.
I'm sure.
Right. And obviously it's the funding. That's a whole nother issue.
Yes.
We'll be in here for another 2 hours, Dr.
I got
Smith.
it. I got it.
You know, I know.
I got it.
And you're doing the best you can with what you have.
And I receive what you're saying too. So as we wrap this up, leadership is about influence, your ability to influence others. So in parting, for me, for those that are tuning in, how can we be better influencers from your perspective? As a leader impacting others.
Okay. Take the time to listen.
I got you.
And don't listen to me. The students will tell you what they need.
Yes.
But often we want to bring in how things worked for us.
Right.
And this is a whole new time. This is a whole new era. This is a whole new day.
Got it.
And then we want to say things like, well, put the phone down if the social media is bothering you.
Yes.
It's not going to happen.
Yes.
So we need to meet them where they are.
Yes.
And we need to be okay with that. Remember, there was a point in time where you were listening to certain music and your mama didn't want you and she thought that was just like, I can't believe. And then now when you listen to the music of today, you are thinking, I cannot believe.
Yes.
But we have to be willing to meet them where they are.
That's right.
We have to be willing to listen. To me, a great leader is a great listener.
Got it. That is so powerful. So for leaders in any field, listening, remember it's a people business. So listening, not always talking, but listening is so key to being successful. I have grown so much from this time that we spent together.
I appreciate you so
Thank
much.
you for sharing. Thank you for trusting me and giving me this opportunity. And for all those in Duncanville and wherever else that will tune in, I know they learned so much today. Leadership matters. And you heard so much today about how effective leadership can change the community, how effective leadership can make a difference in the lives of young people. Miss Lady Jade has shared some awesome things with us that we can take away to not only be better ourselves, but to have a better impact. Because everything rises or falls with leadership. So you have to be super intentional with your leadership activities. I've enjoyed this. This is Dr. Marc Smith, and this is my podcast.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Super Intentional with Dr. Marc Smith. Go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're listening on audio platforms, be sure to subscribe and rate the episodes. Follow us on all social media platforms.